Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Caden Kubler and welcome to Caden's Corner. In the NFC, so many people are currently talking about the San Francisco 49ers and their odds to bounce back in the Super Bowl, or the Dallas Cowboys and the contract troubles they're having with CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. People are also talking about Jordan Love and his potential emergence as an MVP quarterback this year. So many storylines and headlines in the NFC, but a major one that people aren't talking about is the Los Angeles Rams and their explosive offense. I think coming into this season, this Rams team is highly disrespected and highly underrated with the amount of weapons that they have on the offensive side of the ball. Now, last season, you obviously had the 49ers that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. You also had the Lions that played tremendously throughout the season. But let's not forget that the Rams seriously contended in the NFC last year. In the wildcard round, they went on the road in Detroit and only lost to this Lions team by 1 point. I thought there were a lot of turning points in this game where the Rams could have won it. At one point, you had Matthew Stafford get knocked out and come back, but the Rams played great in this game. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the Lions would ultimately go on to play the 49ers in the NFC Championship. They had a 17-point lead at halftime and choked it. But you look at this Rams team, they were only one play away from potentially beating this Lions squad. But I think they have a lot to build on coming into this season, and they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. Now, the offseason wasn't necessarily pretty. They lost Aaron Donald and one of the best defensive players of all time. But I think they've done a good job in the draft the past few years, drafting a lot of young, quick defensive linemen. They took a great defensive end, Jared Verse, out of Florida State, that I think is going to be a highly productive player. And they also bolstered up that secondary by adding Tre'Davious White, the former Bills corner. But looking at this team on the offensive side of the ball, you saw a rookie wide receiver in Puka Nacua that absolutely lit the NFL on fire last season. This guy was flat out unbelievable. He was a 5th-round draft pick out of BYU. Nobody was talking about him, but of course Sean McVay and Les Snead found this stud, and he balled out last year. For a rookie wide receiver, Nakua's putting together a strong case for already being a top 10 receiver in the NFL. Last season, he nearly had 1,500 receiving yards, and he did a great job of filling in for this Rams offense when Cooper Kupp went down for a few games. Another guy that really exploded onto the scene last year was second-year running back Kyren Williams. In his rookie season, he got hurt and virtually missed the entire season. But looking at his production last year, he rushed for over 1,000 yards and had 12 touchdowns. Knowing that Sean McVay loves using a running back by committee, he drafted Blake Corum out of Michigan to just continue to add to this rushing attack. With Cooper Kupp being injured the past few seasons, people are quick to forget that he's still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. When he came back last season, this Rams offense was one of the best in the NFL. They finished the season top 10 in yards per game and top 10 in points per game. But I think the guy that's still not talked about the most on this entire Rams offense is Matthew Stafford. I think right now, when you look at all of the quarterbacks in the NFC, Stafford is the best. You can go through the list of all the quarterbacks in the NFC, and I'm taking Stafford over all of them. You have Dak Prescott, gimme Stafford. Jalen Hurts, I'm still taking Stafford. Brock Purdy, he had a phenomenal season last year and was an MVP contender, still taking Stafford. You have Kyler Murray coming off the ACL injury, I'm still taking Stafford. No more Kirk Cousins in the division. Jordan Love is an emerging MVP contender, but I haven't seen enough from him in that second half of the season stretch, still taking Stafford. I still believe right now that Matthew Stafford at 36 years old is still the best quarterback in the NFC. And then you combine all of these explosive weapons with Matthew Stafford, with Cooper Kupp, with Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams, and now Blake Corum. Sean McVay is the perfect mastermind to make this operation work. Now, with all that being said, I think there's still a lot of question marks with this Rams team. Can Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams, and guys on the offensive side of the ball stay healthy? They're going to be heavily reliant on this unit to win them ball games. Another big-time question mark is how is this defense going to look? With the absence of Aaron Donald, these young defensive linemen are going to need to step up more than ever. This Rams offense is not going to be relying on the defense, and Sean McVay knows that. I think this offense is one of the best in the league, and that's why they're going to be a major contender this year. With how stacked the AFC is, there's a lot of unknown in the NFC. How good are the Cowboys going to be? They still haven't re-signed CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott's looking for a big-time contract extension, and so is Micah Parsons. What are the Eagles going to look like? They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but I think there's a lot of pressure on Nick Sirianni and this team to get back to that spot. Their defense has really struggled. They added a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, and they also added Saquon Barkley. Can this Lions team take another step under Dan Campbell this season? I absolutely think they're going to, with rookie cornerback Terry and Arnold, but let's not forget the Rams were only one play away potentially from beating them in the postseason last year. Like I've said multiple times, is Jordan Love going to emerge as this MVP quarterback and dominate the NFC? And then in the NFC South, the Falcons with Kirk Cousins, all these offensive weapons in Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson have now been unlocked. But I think really the only certainty within the conference and even in their own division in the San Francisco 49ers are still having some question marks with Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. So with all that being said, I still think the Rams are right there and they're knocking at the door of potentially being a Super Bowl contender. They have the offensive mind in Sean McVay. They have a top 10 quarterback in Matthew Stafford, and they have one of the most explosive offensive units in all of football. I think this Rams team is truly going to shock a lot of people. They surprised a lot last year, and they're going to do the same this year. And let's also not forget that in 2022, this Rams team won a Super Bowl with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp. The Los Angeles Rams have all of the pieces to dominate this weak NFC conference. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.